I go, here I go. Yeah, here I go, here I go.
Welcome in, everyone, to yet another episode of The Take with your host, Jackson Burleson. And we're going to get into today's episode right away because we have a lot to address. The NBA playoffs are finally here. You're going to see firsthand me make my predictions for this playoff bracket. And then also, we're going to get right into the Masters to kind of start this show. But before we have any of that, make sure to hit the subscribe button, notification bell, comment what your thoughts are, and also like this video. So let's go ahead and get right into this episode. So Rory McIlroy, he wins back-to-back Masters. He's the fourth player ever to do so. He joins Tiger Woods, who was the last guy to do it in 2001 and 2002. Now, this has been, honestly, a very interesting journey for McIlroy because he was like 2014, young, up-and-coming star, almost had the career Grand Slam, and then he just could not get the green jacket. Time and time again, did not have great performances at Augusta, just was bad. I think, honestly, for over the years of just hearing him talk about it, I think it was something that really got into his head. He was like, man, I have to win a green jacket or I'm just not validated. It kind of felt like those were the feelings that he had during this time where he was just not able to win a green jacket. And then he finally gets his first green jacket last year. He goes to the playoff. He beats Justin Rose, who was also in contention this weekend to potentially get that green jacket. And then he had a couple mishaps. You know, we're not going to get into that too much, but he did have a couple chips, not enough touch on it, wasn't able to get on the green. Just, it's a tough course. I mean, the Masters is a tough freaking course. It's the hardest course to play in the entire world. And the fact that McIlroy goes into this tournament and this specific weekend with it was a crazy lead he had going into Saturday. He honestly didn't play incredibly well on Sunday. He was very up and down, but he got it going. He got some putts. He made some putts, but he was missing some putts earlier. It was a very interesting race because there were a lot of players that honestly could have won it. Like there was Young that could have won it. Like Cameron Young was, he was right there in the mix of things. And then you had Scottie Scheffler, kind of sneaking up on there. He was the first player since 1942 to record bogey-free rounds in both the third and final fourth rounds of the Masters. That's incredible. He was on a pace to have 4 birdies in a row. He was he only finished 2 back. I think he was starting maybe 4 shots, even more than that at some point. And Scheffler shot a 65 in the final round. Incredible. I thought he was going to go on a run and potentially make a playoff and make it interesting with McIlroy. But McIlroy, he did what he needed to do. He 2-putted on that final hole on 18, and he made it happen. And he finished 12 under. He's joining an elite club of back-to-back winners. Jack Nicklaus, Nick Faldo, and Tiger Woods. And no one has ever won 3 in a row at the Masters. Roy is now having a chance to maybe do that next year. He completed the career Grand Slam last year, like we kind of talked about. Maybe this year he could do a second career Grand Slam. I don't know how that's going to be. And then here's one thing I wanted to address. A lot of people have been talking about this. There were a couple of tournaments going on before this Masters tournament for the PGA, as they have a couple of tournaments going on in Houston and San Antonio, I believe. And McIlroy did not participate in those, but what he was doing during that time was going to Augusta and playing the course before anybody else did. Now, I heard somebody say this morning on ESPN that he earned the right to be able to do that. Because when you get that green jacket, you get access to that club whenever you want. And he was just taking advantage. He was taking day trips, flying over to Augusta, and then coming back. He was playing there, coming back. He did that to prepare for the Masters. People are saying, is it an unfair advantage? Is it not? Yeah, it definitely is an unfair advantage. There's no way that you can sit here and tell me that if you're another golfer right? And you're trying to win your first green jacket and you're not able to come and practice at the Masters before the tournament, that's not an advantage. That's totally an advantage. He's now, granted, weather does change. It was very windy this weekend. Wasn't really like that at the beginning of the tournament when it initially started. Weather conditions can change like that. I understand that. But at the same time, the dude has literally been playing the course every day. I mean, he's able to know what kind of greens, how to read the greens better. Now, the whole locations change, but it still helps you a lot to be able to navigate, certain par fives. Like, okay, you got a dog leg left, for example. I'm just kind of bringing up random thoughts here. Like, how do you attack that? How do you approach that? Are there different ways to maybe be risky and also get a lower score on a hole? I mean, there's just a lot of more strategies that you can play with because you're out there trial and erring things. And a lot of players don't have that ability to do that. I think that is something that the PGA needs to look at and maybe say, hey, you have to play in these tournaments prior. And if you don't, you can't just go to Augusta and play before the Masters and before anybody else gets a chance to do so. So, again, congrats. I'm not trying to knock him, but that's an advantage. It is. And I think he knows deep down that was an advantage. But congrats to Rory McIlroy. He's put himself in elite company as one of the best golfers ever. I mean, everybody knew when he won the U.S. Open in 2014, I believe it was, and then the Players. I mean, he just went on an incredible run, and then it kind of stopped. Everyone knew, what kind of player he was. The swing of the golf club, his short game is amazing. But now he's got the hardware. He's got the green jackets to back it up now, that where you can put him in some of these elite conversations with Tiger Woods and things like that. So it's always a tournament I watch. I'm not a huge golf guy. I mean, I don't watch every single tournament that goes on, but the fact that this tournament has just been so prevalent for so long. I mean, it's the 90th year. I can't wait to see what they do for the 100th year. I mean, I would love to be at the 100th year Masters. I mean, that would be so cool. I know it's impossible to go to that event, but if someone can somehow figure out a way, or if I can figure out a way to get there, I would totally do it for you guys. Before we get into the playoffs and everything like that, make sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell, comment your thoughts on the Masters and what you thought about Rory McIlroy winning and things like that. So, before we get into the playoff predictions, I just want to get into a lottery system that the NBA has been talking about, implementing in the 2027 NBA draft. So, basically, tanking has been a huge problem. This year, this is the first time in league history with 8 teams finishing with 55-plus losses. Now, this is like basically a strategy to try to eliminate tanking. So the leading proposal, which has the most momentum right now, is increasing the lottery from the current 14 to 18 teams. That's interesting. It would be fun to kind of see what kind of possibilities you could get there. It includes 10 teams that miss the playoffs and the play-in entirely, and then plus 8 teams that participate in the play-in tournament. So if you make the play-in tournament, you're not going to be punished for it, it seems like, in this. And then they're flattening the odds for the number 1 pick again. I mean, they've been doing this so many times, but the bottom 10 teams, they each receive an identical 8% chance to win the number 1 pick, and then the remaining 20%, they're distributed among the 8 play-in teams, likely descending order based on a record, giving them a smaller individual odds, around 2.5%. Now, we've kind of seen a lot of things go on with the lottery over the years. The number 1 pick in the past, I think, had 20+% odds to get it. It was almost a guarantee. That was when tanking was at its finest. All right, you're going to have the worst record. Now it's time to tank and act like you're going to have the worst record, and you're going to get rewarded for it. That's how the NFL is. They don't have a lottery system. If you're bad, you get rewarded for it. And I think, it is an issue. I'm not saying tanking isn't an issue. I mean, with the Utah Jazz early in the season, they basically just didn't play their entire starting 5 in the fourth quarter. And that's kind of wild to have something like that. And, at the end of the season, people were complaining, stars are sitting. Like, He could have, Wimby could have totally played yesterday against the Nuggets. He played earlier in the week. He had like 40. Do you understand that NBA organizations are trying to protect their assets because they don't want to get players hurt that they need to win a championship? What's more important, winning a championship or the regular season? I think that's the thing here, is like winning a championship requires you to be bad sometimes. Like the Spurs. You don't just get the number one pick for being good. It's rare to see a Mavericks case where you have like a 1% chance to get the pick. That hardly ever happens. Ever. Like I think maybe Cleveland one year, either when they drafted Anthony Bennett or Kyrie Irving, I can't remember what their odds were, but I don't think they were that high. I think it was Cleveland when they drafted Anthony Bennett. I believe it was 2015. I could be wrong on the date. But when they drafted Anthony Bennett, I don't think they had high odds to get the pick. But again, I think this draft is just so good that there's so many teams that are just trying to get one of these players. Because if you get AJ DeBonsta or Darren Peterson, Cameron Boozer, Kingston Flemings, a Caleb Wilson type player, I mean, the list goes on and on and on about this draft class and how good and how deep it is. You have to hit somebody in this draft. You have to. That's what I think. That's why I think we're seeing so many teams have like 55 plus losses and injuries, and also when you're mathematically eliminated from it, like the Bucks. The Bucks, for example, they've been mathematically eliminated for a minute now, but Giannis still wants to come back and play. But the Bucks are like, no, we don't want you to play. Like, it's not that the Bucks don't want him to play; they just don't want him to get hurt. That's the issue. And Giannis has already had injury issues this year, so they're just trying to protect their asset. That's a whole nother thing I'm not going to really dive too deep into. But basically, this process is going to try to equalize odds. They've already tried doing that among the bottom 10, but now they're going to be pulling play-in teams, and they're going to reward for having the absolute worst record, which shrinks significantly. So, like, having the worst record really means nothing now. And then teams near the playoff bubble may have less of an incentive to drop further. That's the Brooklyn Nets were kind of one of those teams. They're not on the bubble, but like they were set. All right, we want to have the worst record in the NBA. We want to be the worst team. We want to get the number one pick. Now that you don't have these crazy odds to get the number one pick, it makes it more challenging. So that's like the proposal that's been getting the most momentum right now. Like the drawing process would be, instead of only drawing the top 4 picks as done currently, the proposal will draw all 18 draft positions via lottery. This dramatically increases risk. The worst team in the league could theoretically end up picking as low as 18. I don't like that personally. I think the worst team in the league needs to have the first pick. There's a reason they're bad. They need players. And then the other proposal is like a 22-team lottery and then a 5x5 or tiered approach. I don't want to go too deep into those just because of time, but we will dive into those later, especially when some of these things actually get approved and are also implemented. Now let's go into like kind of some consequences. So there's like shifted incentives, like, race to the bottom is no longer going to be a thing. It could encourage teams barely missing the playoffs to potentially drop into the play-in spots, which winning more games is now a bad thing. And then, I don't know. There's always something that's going to happen that's going to be different, and it's not. And there's always going to be some kind of rule and penalty or whatever. Like having discussions like to include harsher penalties for like intentionally losing. We've seen that already. I mean, the Jazz got fined, I think it was like $500,000 or something like that for sitting those players. And load management has been an issue, but this should have been done a long time ago. I mean, they should have nipped this in the butt when they had the chance. But, it's just, it's one of those things. Now, finally, let's get into the NBA playoffs. So, the play-in tournament starts tomorrow as I'm recording this, and Wednesday. The first matchup we are going to get into is the number 9 seeded Charlotte Hornets versus the number 10 seeded Miami Heat. I'm a Heat fan. You can see the flag. I've been a Heat fan. been trying to stay loyal. This year has been frustrating because we were in the playoffs. We were very close to like a 6th or 5th seed at one point, and then we dropped back into the plan. 4th consecutive year in the plan. 4th consecutive year. Now, we've made the finals from the plan before, but Bam was saying, we don't want to do this plan. Then don't do it. Win enough games. Don't choke leads. We do that a lot. We'll be up by like 20 points, and we somehow lose the game. It's super frustrating. And that's what I'm worried about in this game. You're playing the Hornets, who have a lot of young pieces with not a lot of playoff experience. Can we get this done at Charlotte? The atmosphere is going to be crazy. They haven't had like a home playoff atmosphere in a minute. I mean, honestly, I think it was like Kemba Walker days almost since they've had like a home playoff game. I mean, this is technically not a playoff game, but like still. I mean, I think they made the play-in once with LaMelo Ball. I think it was his rookie year. But the thing is, for me, I think the Heat can win this game. I mean, we can score with the best of them. I mean, we're second in the NBA in points per game at 120. But our defense can lack sometimes, which is a little bit shocking. Eric Spoelstra needs to get this team locked in defensively if we're going to want to win this game, which I think we can, because if we can just disrupt the flow of this Hornets offense and be physical with them, make them turn over the basketball, make them take tough shots, I think that's going to be the ingredient to win this game. And I think it will be the reason the Heat win this game. I know the Hornets have been a great story. You know, they have LaMelo, Brandon Miller, Colin Knippel, who could arguably win Rookie of the Year. Like, they have a lot of young, talented players on this team, like Kobe White when he comes off the bench. Like, I mean, they have a lot of fun pieces, but I would be very surprised if Eric Spoelstra just didn't will his team, coach his team to a win here, because the Heat have experience and we have good players and we can hang with any team in the league if we really want to. I really believe that. So I think the Miami Heat are going to win this game. Charlotte, you had a great season, but it's Heat Nation time. It's time to start doing something, because we just haven't been doing anything. We've been mediocre. We've been so mid. It's been tough to watch. I mean, this team's not built for a championship run, but neither were the other teams that made the finals previously. That's my thing. It's like we overachieve. I feel like we're also kind of where we're at right now. This is like the one time where I'm like, yeah, I don't think we're overachieving. We're always in the play-in anyway, so it's kind of penciled in there. And then let's get into the next play-in game, which is the Phoenix Suns and the Portland Trailblazers on Tuesday. We'll just start with the two. We'll just do the day matchups to start the play-in. Honestly, this is a interesting game, Portland versus Phoenix. I think Phoenix will win. I think they have a little bit more experience. Portland is just a very young team, and they have a lot of good pieces. I mean, they have a couple young players, Donovan Klinging, Adja. I can't pronounce that guy's name. I apologize. I believe he was like an all-star this year. But they have a lot of good pieces. But I think the Suns, Devin Booker, Dillon Brooks, Jalen Green, I think they have a lot of better players that can create their own shot and take over when the game needs it to. And so I'm picking the Suns to win that play-in game. And that's just kind of how I look at it. They're going to get that 7th seed. And Portland, great season. I just think they're a little bit ahead of schedule. Next year, I think they're going to be a lot better. You know, they're going to get Damian Lillard back, and they're going to kind of fill these holes on this roster as they go with some veteran guys and things like that. But I'm very impressed. Portland was not supposed to be here at all, and I'm really shocked that they did this season. And then let's go ahead and get into the other play-in games. No order, no days. So we got the 76ers and Orlando Magic taking each other on. This is like a game that I'm not really sure how to feel about, because Joel Embiid, he is injured. Gosh, I mean, the luck on this guy is just so unfortunate. I mean, he recently underwent emergency appendectomy, appendicitis. Gosh, I'm so sorry if I'm butchering this, but he had an emergency surgery after one day in the hospital, and it kind of just came out of nowhere. Someone was saying he was practicing, and then his condition overnight kind of got worse. He only played 38 games this year, but I mean, just over the last 3 years, I mean, Joel Embiid has only played 96 games due to a variety of injuries. So it's really starting to become a huge problem. And I'm not going to sit here and say Joel Embiid is a bad basketball player because he's just not. He's just extremely unlucky. Unlucky. He's extremely unlucky. And it's unfortunate a player of his caliber just keeps having these patterns go over and over and over again. But at some point, I feel like Joel Embiid has to sit down and say, will my body allow me to play basketball anymore? And if the answer is no to that question, I would say Joel Embiid probably needs to retire. I think it's for the best. He just can't stay healthy. He can't. It's impossible. He gets hurt all the time. He's a lot of money. He's expensive. I think the Sixers would be better off using their money for someone who actually could be available and is younger. Because the crazy part is they actually have Paul George healthy for the postseason, which is a dream come true. But it's only because he had that crazy 20-game suspension for like some substance you can't use. But that's the thing. The Sixers always had the talent. And I've talked to a bunch of people when the Sixers were going on their run and PG was looking good before the suspension. I'm like, man, the Sixers can be a really dangerous team if they're healthy. But you always have to throw that if healthy part in there. So it's just unfortunate. I think Tyrese Maxey can will the Sixers to a win here and get it done. And I think they will get the 7th seed and play the Boston Celtics in the first round. That is not a good matchup for the Sixers at all. And the Magic are just injured. Franz Wagner, he got hurt. I think he had some kind of hand thing, and then he's had knee issues this year. No, it was the knee issue. He had a knee issue that forced him to come out of the game against the Celtics in the last regular season game, and then he just didn't come back in. So they have to have him healthy to win that game, in my opinion. And I just think the Magic kind of underachieved this year. I don't think they were the team that everyone thought they were going to be. When you go and pick up Desmond Bane, it's like, you're trying to contend in the Eastern Conference when you got Banchero, Franz Wagner, Jalen Suggs, Anthony Black. There's a lot of good players on this team. There are a lot of good young pieces. But I think the Magic they might need to move on. They might need to fire their head coach. I think that might be in the cards there, potentially. And we already talked about the Blazers and Suns matchup. And then the next matchup, final one of the play-in for at least the first round, Clippers versus Warriors. The Warriors are just, first of all, I don't think the Warriors are really that good. I mean, even with Steph Curry on the floor in their last regular season game against the Clippers didn't have Kawhi Leonard, and the Warriors still lost that game by 5. It was a close game. And I expect with Kawhi Leonard, the Clippers to win this game. I mean, they got Darius Garland, Benedict Mathurin. I mean, they have a lot of good players on this roster in the Clippers. And I think it's just a better roster. I think Steph Curry is great, but I think he's kind of getting to a point where it's like, can he really win a championship in Golden State or even have a good team in Golden State anymore? And I just don't know if the answer is yes to that question anymore. But I got the Clippers winning, and I think the Warriors are going to be going home early. I just don't think the Warriors have enough depth, in my opinion. And then just kind of some first-round matchups. We're not going to get into every single first-round matchup that I have, but I've got the Pistons obviously playing. Who is it? Yeah, I've got the Pistons. They're going to be playing. They're going to be playing the Miami Heat in the first round. And then, I think that's going to be a tough series for the Heat. And then the Celtics, they're going to end up playing the Philadelphia 76ers, Knicks versus Hawks, Raptors, Cavaliers. That's going to be a good series. In the West, they got the Thunder taking on, who do I got? I got the Clippers taking the 8th seed. I think they'll beat Phoenix. And then the Spurs and who's the other team? I'm sorry. I'm trying to make sure to keep out my bracket here. Okay. Yeah, sorry. Suns are going to be the 7th seed. Clippers are going to beat the Blazers to get the 8th seed. So it'll be Thunder versus Clippers, Spurs versus Suns. I think that Thunder Clippers series is very interesting, but I think the Thunder still win that series. Nuggets versus T-Wolves, and the Lakers versus Rockets. Now, we're not going to touch on all these first-round matchups. Let me know in the comments what you guys think is your most intriguing first-round matchup. I'm going to get into my first-round matchups first in the Eastern Conference that I think are the most intriguing. I think the first one is the New York Knicks and the Atlanta Hawks. First of all, the Atlanta Hawks have just had an incredible stint after the All-Star break. I mean, they've been one of the best, if not the best, defensive team in the league. I mean, they're second in defensive rating. They're third in net rating post the All-Star break. It's been incredible to watch the emergence of Jalen Johnson. I mean, he's been absolutely insane. You're seeing the potential that this dude has. He has size. He's a triple-double machine whenever he wants to be. I think this is a series, if the Knicks don't take it seriously and they start playing around and they let the Hawks get a game in Madison Square Garden, I'm telling you right now, dude, this series could go 7. It could. I'm not going to say it will, but the Knicks could get tested here in the first round because the Hawks are a good defensive team. I mean, they've got Dyson Daniels to match up. They have so many players that can give you a lot of problems. But for the Knicks, you just made the conference finals last year for the first time in 25 years. This is a team that has to make the finals. In everyone's eyes, in the Knicks' eyes, in the organization's eyes, this is the team to do it. Now, whether they will or not, that is the ultimate question. But I just don't. I think the Knicks win this series, but I think it's going to go 7 games, in my opinion. I think the Knicks are going to win against the Atlanta Hawks in 7 games. I think the Hawks are going to give this team a scare. I really do. I love Jalen Brunson and Karl-Anthony Towns and OG Anunoby and Josh Hart and also Jordan Clarkson. I mean, I think the Knicks are a better team than they were last year, but I think it's still going to be a tough series for the Hawks because they're young, they're well coached. They've got a Kongwu as well that can do some damage down low. I love this team, man. And they got Jonathan Kuminga in the trade deadline. This is going to be a fun, exciting team. And no one thought they were going to be here either. So I've got them advance. I've got the Knicks advancing in 7 games. And then the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Toronto Raptors. I think this is an intriguing series. People need to start paying attention to this because now I know the Raptors have not been insanely good recently. I think they're like, around 500 in the last 24 games. But I think their star power is there. I mean, they have Brandon Ingram. They have Scotty Barnes. R.J. Barrett can come in and give you some good minutes. You have Emmanuel Quickley as well. I like what the Raptors have been cooking up. I mean, this is the first time they made the playoffs since the 2021-22 season. It's been a little bit of a rebuild here, but now they're here, and they're finally starting to get some pieces together, and they're starting to look like an actual legitimate team that could be a problem in the next 3 to 4 years, because I think they could be. I really do, and I think they have the foundational pieces to make that happen. But on the other side of this, the Cleveland Cavaliers cannot lose this series. The Cleveland again, we're going to say the same thing about the Cavaliers like I just said about the New York Knicks. The Cavaliers have to come out of the Eastern Conference. In their organization's eyes and the fan base's eyes, they have to come out of the Eastern Conference. Because when you make a trade for James Harden, you give up DeAndre Hunter and X amount of pieces to get a guy like that, you are expected to win. Kenny Atkinson and this team and this coaching staff has to figure out a way to get this team to at least a conference finals. At least. Because Donovan Mitchell has not been to a conference finals in his career. James Harden, he is trying to win his first NBA championship. Harden said in a press conference earlier this week, everybody knows why I'm here. There's no secret to why I'm here. It's to win a championship. And Cleveland has all the makings to do so. They have all the talent. They were the best team in the NBA offensively. They were the number 1 seed in the East last year. They lost in the second round. Now you're the third seed, not as much pressure, or fourth seed, excuse me. You're the fourth seed, not as much pressure, but you got to get it done. And Cleveland will win this series. I'm going to go Cleveland in 6. I think the Raptors are going to make it competitive for a little bit, but I again think Cleveland's experience is going to outweigh the Raptors, and I think Cleveland also has great shooting, and they have guys that can take over a game and create their own shot, and guys that are comfortable in that situation. Now, we'll see if Playoff Harden shows up, because Playoff Harden is not a good thing. We need Playoff Harden to be a good thing. We need Playoff Harden to be dropping 10 dimes a game and scoring like 25 points. I mean, that would be great. And then also another matchup that would be happening later in the second round. We'll kind of just move into the second round here in the Eastern Conference. So I've got the Pistons and Cavaliers playing in the second round. I do think the Pistons win this series, even with Cade Cunningham just recently coming back from that collapsed lung. That was a very scary injury. That could have been a lot worse, because if Cade Cunningham doesn't come back, the Pistons lose in the first round. So, he hasn't played over 30 minutes since he's been back in his last 3 games, which I think is very interesting to kind of monitor, because his workload's going to be it's going to go up very quickly. And he was on track for 64 games to make an All-NBA selection, but the 65-game rule was not able to meet that, which I don't like. I think they should lower it a little bit. I think it should be like 60 games. But again, I think the Pistons are they're one of the best defensive teams in basketball. I mean, they're third in points allowed. They've got a lot of good, talented players. Jalen Duren, Cade Cunningham, Sir Thompson's really good. They've got Duncan Robinson, who can shoot the ball. They've got Jenkins, who comes off the bench. He's a nice addition. And I like what J.P. Bickerstaff has done with this team. I think it's been a really good, successful rebuild, going from losing all these games to now they're the number 1 seed in the East. Even if you don't make it to the Eastern Conference Finals, this is still a win for the Detroit Pistons this year, because no one thought they were going to be number 1 seed in the East. That's crazy. Number 1 seed in the East. This is a bright future for the Pistons. I think the Pistons make it to the Eastern Conference Finals this year, and I think they beat the Cleveland Cavaliers, and the Cavaliers just go back to the drawing board after trading for James Harden. That's going to be a mess that I don't think anybody in Cleveland or Ohio wants to clean up. And then in the second round, again, I think this is a pretty quick pick. Celtics are going to beat the Hawks. Or not the Hawks, excuse me. Celtics are going to beat the Knicks. You're going to get revenge for last year. Jason Tatum, he's playing. He's back. He looks really good. He honestly looks amazing. For a guy who has not even hit his year mark on his Achilles tear, and he's playing the way he's playing, he's moving the way he's moving. The Celtics are the best team in the Eastern Conference purely because of that. You've got Jason Tatum back. Then you have all these other pieces around filling in. You got Vucevic in the trade deadline. Love, by the way. Don't like his defensive upside that much, but his shooting, his scoring, offensively, very gifted center. Jaylen Brown, we know what he can do. Peyton Pritchard, he has been phenomenal. Derek White, he don't miss from the three-point line. They have so many good players. Joe Mazzulla, very good head coach. Again, I think the Celtics are going to win against the Knicks in 7 games. Yeah, I know, 7 games. I think the Celtics are going to really have a hard time. And I think it could take a second for Jason Tatum to get back into playoff mode, because he's just has not played a lot this year. So, again, there may be a filling out process. He may not be 100% Jason Tatum. So I think that might be something to watch out for. But, again, I think Boston's star power is just too much. I think their playoff experience is too much. And I think Jason Tatum just gives them something else that they haven't had all season. And then the Eastern Conference Finals, Pistons versus Celtics. I've got the Celtics in 6 games. I think the physicality in this series will favor the Pistons, but I think the ability to close games and stretch leads and get on fire and have these crazy runs will favor the Celtics, which is why I think they'll win that series and advance to the NBA Finals, because the Celtics chuck up a bunch of threes, man. They have been known to chuck up a bunch of threes. So that's where they're going to live, and I think it's going to be a great run by the Detroit Pistons, but I think they're just going to come up short, and it's going to be a learning lesson for them, and this is not going to be the last thing for them. I think the Pistons really need to evaluate maybe getting another wing, kind of trying to offload some pressure off Cade Cunningham when it comes to ball handling duties. Asur Thompson does do that a little bit, but I think they need somebody else that can maybe step in off the bench and potentially do something like that and give this offense a spark, because I think the Pistons might just lack some depth a little bit. But again, in the playoffs, anything can happen. Any guy can show up and make magic happen. But I got the Celtics advancing to the NBA Finals for the third time since 2022 to represent the Eastern Conference. Now, let's go ahead and go to the Western Conference. So, I have two matchups in the first round of the Western Conference I'm going to be very keyed in on. The first one is the Denver Nuggets versus Minnesota Timberwolves. We know the history between these two teams. They have been fighting it out for the last couple years in the playoffs. Last year, the Timberwolves, they were amazing. They gave it everything they had. They made the conference finals last year. The year before that, they made the conference finals again, beating Denver in 7 games in the semifinals to advance to the conference finals. I think Denver's got this one this time. I think Denver's going to win this series in 6. I think Denver has the depth. I think this is the best team Nikola Jokic has ever had in his career, because now he's not going to be in the game for the entire time. He's not going to be playing a full 48 minutes because he has Jonas Valanciunas, who can come in and give him some rest, give him some breathing room, so then he can come in and not be as exhausted in a playoff series. Now, Jokic can play like that, and he's proven that he can hold a heavy workload and be good at it. But again, I think this is definitely the best and deepest Nuggets team that Nikola Jokic has had in his career. So I think the Nuggets win this series in 6 games. I do think Anthony Edwards, Julius Randle, Jaden McDaniels, who is injured, is trying to work back. I just don't think the Timberwolves have enough. I don't know what it is. I don't think they have enough pieces. I don't think they're deep enough. I think they're good, but I think the Nuggets are just better. I think they're a tier above the Timberwolves right now. And I think the T-Wolves, if they want to win this series, they're going to have to play good defense, and they're going to have to make Nikola Jokic's life difficult, which they're going to throw a lot of bodies at him in this series. Gobert, Naz Reid, they're going to be doing a lot of things to make his life miserable. But the thing about Jokic, if you give him the ability to pass the ball, that's when he becomes the most dangerous. He's insane. He's the first player ever to lead the league in assists and rebounds per game on average in a single season in NBA history. This dude is doing stuff that no center in NBA history has ever even dreamed about doing. So I think that is something we got to watch for in this series. The depth, and also which team can just figure out a way to win games in the toughest of situations. And it's also hard to play in Denver. That altitude is real. And even on Christmas Day, when these teams matched up, Anthony Edwards hit the game-tying shot to go into overtime. The Nuggets just proved to be a little bit better team. I think they're a little bit deeper this year than they have been in years past, which I think gives them a leg up on the Timberwolves this year. And then this series, I think this is not like an intriguing series, but I think this is just an unfortunate series because the Los Angeles Lakers, they get home court advantage against the Houston Rockets in the first round. The caveat is no Luka Doncic, no Austin Reeves. The highest scoring duo in the NBA no longer on the floor. No longer on the floor for the Los Angeles Lakers. And it's unfortunate because they had a 15-game stretch where they went 13-2. I think they were on a 9-game win streak during that stretch. they were looking like they were going to be hot and they were going to be in the mix as one of the top 3 teams in the Western Conference. But injuries killed them. I mean, Austin Reeves, abdominal injury, and then Luka gets a hamstring injury. Who knows if they're even going to play in this series, or even if this series goes long enough. I think the Rockets win this series in 5 games. I think LeBron James is good enough to carry his team to 1 victory. But other than that, I really don't see the Lakers doing a whole lot. Now, even with Austin Reeves and Luka, I think the Lakers still would lose this series, but it would be in 7 games because I just don't think the Lakers defensively are that good. I mean, Luka, Austin Reeves, they can't guard. So it would be a rough day. Then again, I think it's going to go 5. It could be a sweep because you got Bronny James out here playing point guard. So, that's not really going to help. That's not going to help. You're getting a 2-way guy, Nick Smith Jr., for extra backcourt help. I mean, from the G League. But, I don't know. And I don't care if the Rockets don't have a point guard. I mean, they are the better team. I mean, they have Amin Thompson, Alfred Sengun, Kevin Durant. What else do you want? Jabari Smith, who gets every offensive rebound. This is going to be Rockets in 5. Unfortunately, the Lakers are just unlucky. Again, you got Luka having an MVP year. And then he just gets hurt. It's great. Way to move forward. And this is probably the last year of LeBron James on the Lakers. So we'll see what happens there. This could be his last meaningful playoff series for his career. No one you can't. The thing with me is, I'm seeing a bunch of posts on social media. Oh, LeBron's going to get into 2018. He's going to get into his bag in 2018. This is not 2018 LeBron James. This is not 2018 LeBron James. Does he look good for 41 years old? Yes. Is he great? Yes. Do you expect him to put up 30, 10, and 10, a 30-point triple-double in this series for the Lakers to win? If that happens, kudos to him, man. LeBron James might seriously be the GOAT if he could pull this off and win this series against the Rockets. I'm not joking. And I'm a guy who thinks Jordan's the GOAT, but that could do it right there. 41-year-old LeBron James. The headline. 41-year-old LeBron James leads his way to the next round, getting Luka and Reeves back. That's what you want as a Lakers fan. But can LeBron do that? I don't know. He could. Maybe. He's pretty well rested, to be honest. He's been the 3rd option in this offense most of the season. And I think he was injured at the beginning of the year. He was out for a little bit. I think LeBron's coming into this playoffs fresh. I'm not counting out LeBron James. But the Rockets, they got a friendly draw. And then the second round Western Conference. San Antonio Spurs versus the Denver Nuggets in the second round is going to be a bloodbath. So you've got the Spurs, who have just been insane. They beat the Thunder 4 times this year, the defending reigning champions. They're young, but this core has not been to the playoffs yet. So this is going to be a very fun year of playoff basketball. We get to see Victor Wembanyama in the postseason, a 7'5" phenom who can do everything. Victor Wembanyama, he wins a championship this year, dude. This dude is on the trajectory to be the GOAT of basketball. He seriously, he is. If he wins a title this year and he beats Denver, he beats OKC, and then they go to the finals and beat the Celtics, Victor Wembanyama is on his way to becoming the greatest basketball player ever, just because of what you see. Eye test, crazy length, crazy size, crazy athletic ability, great coordination, great movement. Because people don't understand, players that tall don't usually move around the way he does. He moves around differently. I mean, there's a guy at Florida who's 7'8". He does not move like Victor Wembanyama. And then, for me, I think Denver will take this 7. I mean, they have experience. I think it's going to be a very back and forth series. Knockout punch, knockout punch, knockout punch. But I think the Spurs, they got the ultimate weapon. Victor Wembanyama. I also like the guards they have. I like Stephon Castle a lot. I think he can control the pace in this series. You've got De'Aaron Fox as well. You've got a lot of young, talented players on this Spurs team, and it's a very fun season to see unfold. And Denver, they're great, but I think Victor Wembanyama is the reason they win this series. That's the easiest way I could put this. And then the next series in the second round is OKC and Houston. The Thunder sweep the Rockets, or gentlemen sweep them. This is not really even something I need to spend much time on. I mean, the Rockets just don't have anything that match. They don't match up well with the Thunder at all. They don't have a point guard. They're going to get clamped up when it comes to the half court and trying to run their offense. I think the Thunder are going to turn them over a lot. They're going to get out in front early, and I think it's really going to mess with the Rockets. So, again, I think OKC, they're healthy. They're fully healthy right now. I think they've been clicking on all cylinders. They've been the best team in the NBA all year. I don't really see the Rockets winning. Now, if Fred VanVleet was on this team, I think it would be a little bit different with the Rockets. I think they would actually be a little bit more of a legit contender. But since they don't have a point, I feel like you just need a point guard in the playoffs to really do anything. And then Western Conference Finals. So OKC and the Spurs. Now, I kind of talked about earlier the history between these two teams. 4 out of the 5 matchups these two teams have had, the Spurs have won. They have their number all year. They woke up the league immediately. It's like, whoa, the Spurs did what? They not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 times they defeated the defending champs. And it's like, okay, all right. I knew the Spurs were going to be better this year. I thought they were maybe going to be a playoff team, maybe playing, but not this. Not this. Second seed in the West, second best team in the league. Come on. I mean, if we're really going to be honest here, OKC and the Spurs Western Conference Finals is going to be the NBA Finals. Those are the 2 best teams in the NBA. But I got the Spurs advancing to the NBA Finals for the first time since 2014 when they unfortunately beat my Miami Heat in 5 games. That was a rough series to watch. But again, I think this just goes back to the matchups. I think the Spurs matchup by matchup can really give the Thunder problems, and we've seen that. Chet versus Wemby. Chet does not want to see Wemby in the postseason. He does not. So I'm looking at that right there, and I'm going to just sit back and watch and be like, okay, all right. Let's see what you can cook up here, Thunder, because this is going to be a matter of coaching. If the Spurs don't win this series, they're going to get outcoached. But again, I think there's a lot of things with the Spurs youth and things like that. I don't think that's really a big deal because the Thunder, they didn't make an NBA Finals last year. I don't even think they made a conference finals last year before they made their run last season. So, again, you've got the 2 front runners for MVP most likely going head-to-head there. But I got the Spurs. I'm going to take them in 7 games. I think that's going to be a fun series to watch. I think it's going to be very heartbreaking. But I think the Thunder are not bad. I think they're great. They'll be back next year. They'll get some more pieces. They'll reload. It'll be very interesting to see how Jared McCain impacts this series off the bench. I think it'll come down to the benches. Who can win the bench? Who can score more points off the bench? And then let's kind of see the finals. So before we end the pod, make sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell, comment your thoughts on my predictions and who you got advancing to the Western and Eastern Conference Finals and who you got in the NBA Finals. So I have got the Spurs and the Boston Celtics in the NBA Finals. This would be fun. This would be a fun series. Very easy to promote. A lot of eyes will be on this series. A lot of star power. You got Victor Wembanyama, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Stephon Castle. A lot of fun pieces in this series. A lot of fun pieces. And I think the Spurs are going to win their first title since 2014, and they're gonna be in some interesting company when it comes to teams that have been missing the playoffs the year prior and then the next year winning a championship. So the 2020 Lakers, they did this. They missed the playoffs the previous season and they won a championship. 2008 Celtics, they did this. 1977 Portland Trailblazers, they did this. And the 1995 Houston Rockets, they did this. The Spurs are going to be the 5th team in NBA history to win an NBA championship, and also the year prior missed the playoffs. I think that's going to be very fun. I mean, the Spurs' average age is around 25 years old. Outside of like Harrison Barnes, I mean, there's really not a lot of old guys on this team. But again, I just think like other young champions, like we saw last year, the OKC, they were young just like the Spurs were. I don't see a reason why the Spurs can't do the same thing that the Thunder did last year. I think Victor Wembanyama is going to win Finals MVP. He's going to get his first championship. He's going to be on that trajectory. Again, I think the Celtics are a very good team, but I think the Spurs win this series in 6 games. I think it's going to be a very, very challenging series for the Celtics for one reason alone. They have no one to guard Victor Wembanyama. You're going to put Luka Garza in there? No. You're going to put Nikola Vucevic in there? No. No, that is not going to work. I'm telling you right now, that is not going to work. It won't. And in other matchups, I think the Spurs could really stop Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. They have good enough defenders there. So again, I think that's kind of my outlook on the NBA playoffs. Let me know what your outlook is, what your thoughts are on this episode, who you guys got in the finals, what you could disagree with in this podcast. Let me know in the comments what you guys got. I'm sorry for not posting the last couple weeks. I had some personal issues that I had to deal with, so I had to take some time and step away. But we're ready to fully ramp up, man. We're going to be getting some more content out for you guys. Keep an eye on the shorts. I do post short videos reacting to things if I don't have time to come on here and do a quick podcast. But make sure to hit the subscribe button, notification bell, comment your thoughts, and also some ideas for some new segments coming in. I think I'm going to be cooking up some new segments coming up shortly, so let me know what kind of ideas you guys have for that. But I'm Jackson Burleson, of course. You guys have been listening to another episode of The Take. Have a great day. Thanks.
Talk to me, baby. Talk to me nice. I'm from another world, baby, yeah. Broadway paradise. They think I'm way too cold, cause I put my